Hey, it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today we are making white cupcakes. Maybe you call them white wedding cupcakes, but these are a nice, light, fluffy cupcake, and we are doing our best to make them as snow white as possible. Let's start by preheating our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to need a large mixing bowl. So here we're going to be starting with 3 tablespoons of a softened, unsalted butter. I know it seems like a small amount of butter. It's because we're going to be balancing it with oil. That way our cupcakes have the best texture and flavor possible. Butter's great for flavor. Oil is good for texture and moisture. And we are only making 12 cupcakes today, but you can feel free to double this recipe so that you can get 2 dozen instead. So even though it's just a small bit of butter, we're going to take our electric mixer and we're going to beat it until it's creamy. Which only takes a second because it's just a little bit. Then we're going to add 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. We're also going to add 1/4 cup of a neutral oil. So that would be either canola oil or vegetable oil or avocado oil, which is what I'm using today. Then we're going to cream these ingredients together until they're well combined. All right, next let's add our flavor. So I'm going to start with, trying to tell what I have here, with 1.5 teaspoons of clear vanilla. So if you want to use a classic real vanilla extract instead, you can, but your cupcakes just aren't going to turn out pure white like they will with a clear vanilla. It's 1.5 teaspoons. And we're also going to be adding just a 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, which adds a really lovely flavor to these cupcakes. If you don't want to use it, you can leave it out, that's fine, but I really like the flavor it adds. And we'll just stir these in real quickly. I think should be smelling pretty amazing about now. All right, let's set this aside, and you'll need a separate bowl for your dry ingredients. We're going to start with 1.5 cups of cake flour. Cake flour is my preference here. It's going to give a lighter crumb. It's going to make the cupcakes a little bit fluffier, but I will try to include notes in case you don't have cake flour and you want to use all-purpose instead. We'll also be adding 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and then for our salt, which is super critical for a good flavor, we'll be adding a 1/2 teaspoon of that. And you'll want to whisk these ingredients together really well, make sure everything's nicely combined. All right, our next ingredient before we go any further is you are going to want to have a 1/2 cup of buttermilk measured out. And we'll bring back our wet ingredients. And now by hand, we are going to alternate adding our wet ingredients or our buttermilk and our dry ingredients. So you're going to use a spatula for this. Don't use your mixer or you run the risk of accidentally over mixing your batter, which is going to make your cupcakes sink in on themselves, could make them rubbery. So just do this part by hand. So I always start and end with a flour mixture. So we'll do this in like 3 parts. Just gently fold this in until all of the dry ingredients are mostly absorbed. Then we'll add some of our buttermilk, do the same thing with this. And I like to alternate these ingredients like this just because it's the best way to get everything combined and have the best texture. Your cupcakes are ultimately going to have the best texture when you do everything this way. Right, a bit more of that flour. Thanks to that extract that we're using, everything smells really good right now. Just wait till these get in the oven. Last bit of flour. And we don't want to overmix, but it is important that your batter look uniform. You don't want there to be any large lumps remaining, no pockets of flour. So scrape the sides and bottom of their bowl to make sure it's not hiding in there. All right, this looks great, but we are not done yet. One of the things that makes these cupcakes so great and gives them such a nice light, springy texture is the egg whites we're going to be using. So for today's recipe, you're going to need 3 large eggs, but we're only going to be using the egg whites. So let me grab myself a separate dish here because I need to separate the egg whites from the egg yolks, and it's really important I don't get any yolk in with my egg whites. This is the bowl I will be whipping the egg whites in. It's so important that that bowl be completely clean, dry, and grease-free. Otherwise, your egg whites are not going to whip to stiff peaks, which is essential here. So I just pass the yolk back and forth until all of that white falls out. And if you want to do something with the yolks, like if you don't want to waste them, I will try to remember to link to some recipes that just use egg yolks. Mine are probably going to go to my dog. And in case I didn't already say it, these are large eggs that we're using today, and they are room temperature. For best results, really all of your ingredients should be at room temperature. Egg white number 3. And as I mentioned, we're going to whip these to stiff peaks. I obviously can't use the same beaters that I just used. So I'm going to switch these out, and I prefer to use whisk beaters instead of classic beaters. Just gonna get the job done faster. So I'm going to whip these until we reach stiff peaks, and of course I will show you exactly what that looks like. I gradually increase my speed to high. I start on low speed, and as things start to foam, I turn up the volume a little bit. So what we're looking for is the egg whites will have greatly increased in volume. They will be pure white, they'll be super fluffy, they'll kind of look a bit like whipped cream or Cool Whip more than eggs. And you can go too far, so I'm going to stop right here, because I feel like we're in pretty good shape here. So these are little peaks, but if you can see the peaks that form when you take the beater out of the mixture, they hold their shape, they're very firm, nothing is folding back in on itself. So I'm just gonna prod this with a spatula a little bit, just because I want you to have a good look at what stiff peaks means. This is just something that sort of I used to find intimidating when I first started baking. So you see, they're totally holding their own shape. We're good. So we're going to add these to our batter. Again, we're done with the mixer at this point. Using the mixer is going to just undo all that hard work you did. And now we're just going to very gently fold these egg whites into our batter. So again, we want to end with a nice uniform batter, but we don't want to be too aggressive. Yes, the egg whites are going to get deflated some, it's just the nature of combining them, but we want to do so as little as possible. We're just gently folding them. All right, I'm pretty happy with this batter, how we're looking at this point. So let me grab my cupcake tray and my ice cream scoop. I love using this for portioning out cupcake batter. It's much better than using a pair of spoons and making a mess everywhere like I used to do. All right, and let's go ahead and evenly divide our batter into our cupcake pan. And you can see I have lined this with paper liners. That's what I recommend. Now, overfilling these cupcakes could cause them to spread out over the top, so I don't like to fill the liners more than 3/4 of the way full. I do find this batter usually ends up dividing pretty much perfectly, though. I don't usually have any leftover. I'm not usually lacking any, which that can be hard to pull off, so I impressed myself a little bit there. I don't like to waste batter, especially when I can't eat it. All right, we'll take this over to our 350-degree Fahrenheit oven. We're going to bake on the center rack for about 17 minutes. Of course, I do always like to use the toothpick test. The toothpick inserted in the center should come out clean or with a few moist crumbs. You can also lightly tap the tops of the muffins and see, or I'm sorry, the cupcakes, and see that they spring back. So I'll let these cupcakes cool in their pan for about 5 minutes, and then I like to use a knife to carefully, gently remove them from the pan. This is going to help prevent them from over baking, and it's also going to help keep them from becoming like moist or soggy on the bottom. Just be gentle, because at this point they're still delicate and you could end up deflating them or damaging them if you're too rough on them. It is important that you let the cupcakes cool completely on the cooling rack before you decorate them with frosting, otherwise your frosting is going to melt. Today I am just using my vanilla buttercream, and I made this with clear vanilla extract just so it would kind of match the white cupcakes instead of being yellow tinted. And of course you can use any frosting you like. I recently shared a blueberry frosting on the blog that pairs really well with these, but I will link to this vanilla buttercream in the description below for you. And you only really need a half batch since we're only doing 12 cupcakes, unless you want a lot of frosting, which I get. And that is how you make these fluffy white cupcakes. If you try it, let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. These have such a lovely crumb. I don't know if you can see that. Ugh. It's so good.